I grew up, I'm second generation Arlington, but I'm not one of the snobby ones. Yes, at the age of 16 I decided I'd be a dentist. When I was growing up I cut 55 yards a week cutting grass. All I did was cut grass, eat, sleep, and go to school occasionally. And of those people that I cut grass for, I did about 10 physicians and about 10 dentists. The physicians were nice people, but they were most of them were introverts, and they were concerned. They had the weight of the world on their shoulders. The dentists, on the other hand, were amazing people. Most of them were extroverts, and they came in two flavors. Either, Mark, whatever you need, whatever it takes, I'll help you get into dental school. Why don't you come and visit me in my practice, and I'll show you a great time. We'll go out to lunch and I'll show you how I do my orthodontics, my periodontics, my general dentistry. Or, Lordy, Mark, it's 100 degrees out there. You're sweating like a wild man. Why don't you come in and have a beer? And I'd have to say, I really appreciate that, but I'm too young to have a beer. But I really appreciate it. So there were two kinds. They either tried to get me into dental school or they tried to corrupt me. Either way, I loved it. After graduating from Arlington, I became a microbiology major at The Ohio State University, and through a series of small miracles got into dental school my first year, and literally moved from my undergraduate fraternity, Phi Delta Theta, 4 streets down to the Psi Omega Dental Fraternity on 85 East 13th Avenue. I started on West Broad Street for 13 years and eventually moved right to here in Mill Run in Hilliard. And I've been here for the past 25 years. I started the second year. My buddy Nick Raptu was very nice, and I had asked him. I heard he was joining a really cool study club. I said, I'd love to do that. And he said, well, the second year, if I can, I'll get you in. And happily, Fred said yes, and Nick said yes. And I've been a member ever since. It's been just a wonderful experience. I have learned a tremendous amount and gotten experiences I never would remotely have otherwise. And also, it's an incredible social group that I never would have met. So thank you to Fred, thank you to Nick, and all of you. It's a continuing wonderful experience. I always say it's the gold medal study club, and it really is. I married a wonderful deaf girl by the name of Crystal. I met her after dental school. I decided I thought sign language would be cool to learn, and I also thought paramedics and firefighting would be cool to learn. So the year after dental school, I went to CTI, Columbus Technical Institute, which is now Columbus State, but back then it was a little hick school called CTI, and they had an interpreting transliterating program and a firefighting paramedic program. And I went the year after dental school. It was a very intense year. During that time, I was also going to Grace Brethren Church, and we had a common interpreter there who also interpreted at Columbus State. And when Grace was doing their Living Christmas Tree program, every Christmas they did it, she said, come in, I'll save you a seat to learn how to interpret. So I did. It was a very cold day, but I was late, I was sweating, I came right down, I plopped my butt down, and I was watching her interpret the Christmas play. Then intermission happened. I turned my head to the right by chance, and I saw the most beautiful thing you can ever imagine. And literally it was like Roger Rabbit seeing Jessica Rabbit. And I went over to Donna, the interpreter, later on, and I said, do you think you could maybe fix us up? I'd like to meet that girl. And lo and behold, she did fix us up, and we got married in '87, We have 3 beautiful sons now. Max is 30, Derek is 29, excuse me, and Zach Attack is 27 now. And they're all paying taxes. Yeah! Max is married, the other 2 aren't. Well, I guess I would say the only things slightly different that I would say are I do CEREC dentistry now, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It has changed my practice for the better dramatically. And we're using more screens and showing people pictures and x-rays and everything, and that's been wonderful. The second thing is I'm placing immediate implants in the mouth, and that has also changed things dramatically. People like that. If it's a tough case, it goes to Fred. Number one, if you're going to be, especially if you're going to be a general practitioner, you have to be a nice guy. Number one, I mean really a nice guy. You should be an extrovert. You have to be able to talk and communicate with people. You have to be very sincere. And something that they told us in freshman dental school, and I didn't realize how hard they meant it, but they did. You have to be willing to work hard, long, and be dedicated and get the job done. You really do. And the last thing that I've always said is call your patients at night. You know, see how they're doing. There are 3 kinds of patients that need to be called. Number one, the patients that have had something traumatic done, like maybe 4 impacted wisdom teeth taken out. Number 2, a patient that something unexpected happened. And number 3, the patients that paid you a lot of money. Call those patients and make sure they're doing all right. That builds a practice. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I would also say, make sure you take at least 150 hours a year of continuing ed until you die. You know, put the time and money in, go to the meetings, learn, and of course, join CODF. Woo! Pretty much what I just said. A pretty nice personality, a dedication, and the ability to work hard with people and get the job done. I'd give a lot to my church, and I'd give a lot to Christian missionaries around the world. Oh, it's not even close. Jesus Christ. American Sign Language. My wife jokes I'm not very good at it, but I do a fair amount of that. And German and some French. Several of them. I would say, in general, Melbourne, Australia was a wonderful city. Munich, Germany at Oktoberfest is a blast. Israel for the history. St. Thomas for the sun and beaches. And Greece for the sun and beaches. I would say generally, here was a flawed guy that God took and allowed him with a lot of work to try and serve humanity through dentistry and serve Jesus Christ. I'll give you a couple. I'd like to visit the bridge on the River Kwai in Thailand and also take the Trans-Siberian Railway in Russia. Not even close. Wilt Chamberlain was all world in 5 sports. And also I would say Dan Gable, who went, I believe it was 131-1 as a wrestler at Iowa. Whew. Tough to narrow down, but I would say certainly Patton, the 10 Commandments, Animal House, Airplane, the bridge on the River Kwai, Midway, and Tora Tora Tora. Got to be the Bible. Well, I've always loved the dental color, which is lavender. So I would say lavender, royal purple, or royal blue. I just read a book given to me by a classmate whose dad was in the book called Intrepid Aviators. It was about the guys on the aircraft carrier Intrepid in World War II. Toward the end of the war, those guys sank the Musashi, which along with the Yamata were the two biggest ships by far in the world. And what it took and the bravery it took to knock those ships down and sink them. Upper right. Lower left.